Well, it wasn't a debate, but it was feisty nonetheless. Gillard and Tony Abbott have fronted a public forum of voters for the second time in a week. This time the venue was Brisbane, where Kevin Rudd's axing prompted a flurry of questions to the Prime Minister. While both leaders were quizzed on the economy, Labor accused Tony Abbott of ducking scrutiny on his policy costings, which were released an hour before the event. The audience, who were polled after the forum, awarded Gillard a narrow win of 83 to 75. From Canberra, Nick Harmson reports.
From Rooty Hill to Red Hill, Julia Gillard rocked up early for round two, ready to rumble.
I'm here in case he changes his mind, but Mr Abbott is ducking a debate.
There was no squaring off between leaders, just a public grilling for both.
You've avoided an economic debate with Julia Gillard. You didn't appear at your own broadband announcement.
Most of us don't trust either of you. Given that, do you still think it's a really great idea to introduce a net filter?
And now you laud Kevin Rudd as a great achiever and expect the people of Australia to vote your party back in for another 3 years. Do you feel like a hypocrite?
Thank you for the question. And I like it when people are up front. I think that's good.
In the former Prime Minister's hometown, the locals didn't hold back.
Why weren't all Australians given the right at a democratic election to determine whether they wanted to support Mr Rudd?
If Kevin were here tonight, what he would be saying to this audience is that he's come off a sick bed to campaign for the re-election of my government.
This time both leaders took the floor rather than the stage, eager to demonstrate they understand the cost of living.
There is no magic wand, I've got to say. I'd like to be able to come in and tell you that I could make all of that pain disappear. But the best thing we can do is try to avoid making it worse by putting big new taxes on things.
What's one worth?
Austerity was the focus of the day.
We thought we'd give you a small gift.
Julia Gillard pledged money to help children save.
I want kids in school to understand the benefits of savings. I want them to understand what it's like to have a mortgage and how you pay down debt.
OK, so what are we going to do with this piece, mate?
The coalition promised to drive down government debt.
I can run right over the media. What do you reckon, mate?
It released its campaign costings reviewed by private accountants, pointing to $30 billion less debt in 2014.
We have undertaken the most comprehensive analysis ever undertaken by an opposition in an election campaign in Australia's political history.
The coalition is also promising bigger surpluses, $11.5 billion over the next 4 years. The figures are predicated on $50 billion worth of savings, including $10 billion announced today.
It is responsible, it is doable, and it will not touch services.
But the document also raises questions. The coalition has listed the closure of the Christmas Island Detention Centre as a saving, but it hasn't counted an offshore centre on Nauru as a cost. A spokesman says that would be paid for out of the existing border security budget.
We've had this Inspector Clouseau routine, the dog ate my homework excuse. The only way to get to the bottom of this is for these policies to be submitted to the Treasury and Finance, something they have refused to do.
This is more spin. If they really want to compare our performance with theirs, turn up with a document like this and ask and answer the questions about the assumption of the veracity of their own calculations.
Labor was only too happy to point out that Tony Abbott wasn't there to answer questions.
You can't be Prime Minister and go missing when the big judgments on the economy need to be made.
It's only fair and reasonable that I should leave these important financial announcements to my financial and economic spokesman.
An approach taken by Kevin Rudd in 2007.
We certainly had a costings release in the last campaign. Was he present? I couldn't tell you who was there.
And just like the last campaign, an 11th hour costing debate is sure to follow. Nick Harmson, Lateline.